Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Edgar Cisneros, and today we're going to be talking about backing rings. We're going to be going over what they are, when they're used, and how to use them. By the end of this video, you will be able to install one of these from start to finish to include the prep, fitting, and welding. And with any luck, it's going to help you at your current job, or better yet, a future higher paying job. So let's take a closer look. This backing ring is 1 inch wide. It is approximately 1/8 of an inch thick and has 4 of these removable pins that are 3/16 thick. Now this is what sets the gap between pipes, and depending on the size of backing ring you're using, it may come with more or less of these pins. For example, if you have a backing ring for a 3-inch pipe, it will only come with 3 of these, also depending on the manufacturer, right? If you have a box full of these, it is easy to identify which one you need by looking at the inside of the backing ring. This one is for an 8-inch standard pipe or Schedule 40 pipe, and it is a 109 material. Now, this backing ring has a few other names like splice rings, weld rings, and chill rings. Now, don't let that last one confuse you guys. This does not cool down your molten puddle. It's just another name for it. These can also be used in scenarios where you want to keep the slag, trash, and debris that you would get when performing an open route down to a minimum or have none. They can also be used to remain consistent. For example, if I take a below than average, or let's say below the ideal skilled pipe welder, and have him or her perform an open route, the chances are that route face won't be consistent all the way around every time. However, if I give them one of these, it'll make their life a lot easier, and you will have consistent results every time. So, enough talking, let's get to installing them. If you happen to be using a pipe with a welded seam, grind down the first 1/2 inch of that seam. That way, the backing ring sits nice and flush against the inside of the pipe. You can get this done by using a die grinder with a carbide bit or a grinding stone, or you can use one of these grinding cones that simply attaches to a angle grinder. If you don't have a welded seam, these grinding cones still do an awesome job removing the paint and rust from the inside of the pipe. When fitting the backing ring to the pipe, you may encounter a small gap or a backing ring that is slightly deformed and not a true circle. To fix this, grab a locking C-clamp to close the gap and then tack. You will want to start from one edge of where the backing ring splits and then work your way around to the other side. Now, the split at the chill ring, you may have a gap, you may not, and depending on what WPS you're using, it may call for it to be welded up. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to weld it up and grind it back down flush. Before we continue, if you're using a backing ring to connect a pipe to a fitting, like a T or an elbow, you will want to tack the ring to the pipe and then grind the fitting to fit the backing ring. If you do it the opposite way around, and tack the ring to the fitting, then slide both pieces into the pipe, you will most likely have a decent sized gap between the ring and the pipe, and we don't want that. We want a tight fit. After fitting the second pipe, we can go ahead and tack. I would take advantage of having all 3 pieces there and tying them all in on this last set of tacks. Here you can see how easy it could be to remove these pins, and I say that because if your fitment is slammed tight against the pins, you may have to work a little bit harder to remove them. Welding the root pass on these backing rings is really the only area people struggle with. It's usually blowing through the ring. So I'll give you a good starting point using 3 different electrodes and a second welding process. To start off with, I wouldn't go with anything less than a 3/32 landing unless you are TIG welding. The clip that you're currently watching is me using a Blue Demon 3/32 6010 rod at about 70 amps. This rod is a Forney 1/8 6010 rod, ran at about 100 amps. This is a Blue Demon 332nd 7018 rod, ran at about 95 amps. Now, if you're required to use a 7018 for all your tacking and welding, what you're really doing is just removing the weaker 60 series electrode and keeping the strength of the 7018 rod from start to finish. I've never used short circuit MIG on this type of application, but I figure I give it a shot and pass on my starting values, which were 310 on the wire feed speed and 20 volts. I believe I could have gone a little bit hotter on the settings, especially if I'm rolling it out. Here you have it. This is the 332nd 6010, the root pass, and don't mind this little mishap there. I got arc, but I had to move the ground around. 1/8 6010 and 332nd 7018. Now I tried to remove the slag, but if you do, and you'll find this, if your WPS requires you to only use a 7018 for tacking and welding it all out, the first pass it's pretty hard to take the slag out. Regardless, some WPS require you to ground the root, so I just used a grinding stone to remove it. And I went ahead and tried for my very first time doing one of these with solid wire. I used 030 wire ER70S6 with 7525 shielding gas. Well guys, there you have it. We went over the backing ring itself, a few scenarios on when you may encounter using them, and the prepping, fitting, and welding of the backing ring onto the pipe itself. Now, I know there's several different ways of getting this task accomplished. However, what's going to dictate that is the WPS that you're using, all right? But most of the time, right after putting the root, you're going to end up grinding it and go ahead and get started with your hot, fill, and cap. But I don't have to worry about that because I know you know how to do it. Hopefully this video helps you out in the near future. If you have any questions about what you just saw, leave them in the comments section below. And again, my name is Edgar Cisneros. Thanks for watching. You guys have a good day.